Have you ever found yourself dreaming of financial freedom, or maybe just wishing for a little extra cash? Do you wonder how you could leverage your passion and skills outside of your 9-to-5 job to build a more fulfilling life and prosperous career? If so, you're not alone, and this episode is for you. Welcome to Monday Through Sunday, the podcast dedicated to helping you build the life and career of your dreams. My name is Logan Lockhart, and I am your host, and today we are talking all about side hustles, exploring practical strategies and my own personal story in order to empower and inspire you to start your own journey towards earning extra income. Whether you're looking to pay off debt, save for a vacation, or pursue a passion project, I'm here sharing all of the insights to help you make it happen. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Welcome to Monday Through Sunday. I'm Logan.
I'm Sanam.
And I'm Lane. We're best friends, the founders of Blossom Brands, and the hosts of this podcast.
We can't wait to take you behind the scenes of running a 7-figure agency with our best friends.
We're sharing our mistakes, our lessons learned, and giving you tactical advice to build the career, the business, and the relationships you dream of, and a life you don't need a weekend to escape from.
So let's get balanced and let's get down to business. Welcome to the show.
So if you're listening to this show, one thing I probably already know about you is that you are a hard worker. You are willing to hustle and grind and get shit done in the interest of furthering your personal success, professional development, your career, and your earning potential. And while I think there is so much value in being willing to work and being able to hustle to get yourself to a place that you want to be professionally, financially, emotionally in your life, I do want to discourage you from hustling so hard that the wheels fall off and you find yourself in your mid to late 20s totally burnt out, unsure of your direction, and maybe you've given too much of your time to a job or career or a person that doesn't directly give back to you. And so I want to make sure that for you, dear listener in your early 20s, that you are hustling towards things that are actually going to reap a benefit and provide a value and give you a return on that investment. Because let's be honest, we are not all going to have the energy to hustle 24/7 all day long. I'm in my late 20s right now. And while I still think I'm in a little bit of a hustle era, it is definitely a different vibe than when I was in my early 20s and I was genuinely willing to work around the clock. So with that being said, today we are going to talk all about side hustles, but with the caveat that I don't just want you to have a side hustle. I want you to have a side hustle that is sustainable and beneficial to you in the long term. So while yes, we all love making an extra buck, I want to make sure that you aren't selling yourself short and you aren't simply trading your time for money, and you're putting your extra effort and extra energy into a side hustle that could be sustainable long term and maybe develop into your full-time business. Just to set the stage, I want to be totally transparent with you guys and make it really clear that I'm not coming to you in this episode as a business owner. I'm coming to you as someone who has had multiple side hustles prior to my entrepreneurial journey that led me to where I am today. So I don't want you to picture me as this high and mighty business owner that's talking down to you and telling you how you can have this for yourself. No, none of that. I'm talking to you as my past self and what I learned along the way about how to do it right and how to do it wrong. In the process of preparing for this episode, I really thought long and hard about my journey and identified 4 main topics that I wish somebody would have told me when I was starting my side hustle that would have just made the process a lot more sustainable, a lot easier, and would have helped me get really clear in my end game, whether that was to turn my side hustle into a full-time business or to just make a little extra money on the side while learning something along the way. Spoiler alert. I did not end up taking my side hustle full-time. I instead opted to join Blossom Brands. However, it is something that I really considered. So I feel as though I can speak to both sides of the equation. So whether you view your side hustle as a way to dip your toes into entrepreneurship or you're just trying to make a buck, I promise there will be some tips and tricks for you in this episode. So a little bit of background on my personal career and side hustle journey. Once I graduated with my marketing degree, I was able to secure a job at an agency here in Dallas, which was a dream job of mine. I remember being so excited to get this job. I had to go through multiple rounds of interviews, was actually rejected the first time, and then they called me back a few months later with an offer. So, just a little mini lesson there to never give up, always persevere. And it's actually funny when I go back and read my emails from them, I'm like, they flat out rejected me, like they really did. And my brain didn't even compute that that was a rejection. I saw it as like a not right now type of email. And so I responded accordingly. And I kept being persistent. I kept following up with them. And they finally got so annoyed with me, they had to offer me a job. Just kidding. But with all that being said, I'm so grateful for my first job, not only for the learning opportunities it provided for me in being able to use my major, learn more about marketing, but it also is where I met my best friends, Lane and Snom. So we all met at my first job, and they're a couple years older than me. So I was a few months out of college. They were a few years out of college, and we only worked together for a brief period of time, actually, before they left that job to go found Blossom Brands. And again, I had just graduated college, so I was nowhere near ready to take a leap and start a business. So I stayed put and always told them that when they were hiring to give me a call, somewhat jokingly, but it turns out that's exactly what happened. So that's how I ended up at Blossom Brands. But prior to that was when I started my first side hustle. So basically, what happened is a client came through to my agency who was much too small for them. So that agency referred them to Blossom Brands. Lane and Sanam chatted with her, decided she was too small for them as well. And that is when this client was referred back to me personally. I had never had a side hustle before. I didn't even know the first thing about it. But at the time, I was making an entry-level salary. I was really hungry to learn. And it was an up-and-coming skincare based in Malibu, California. So I said, sign me up. This was just right up my alley. It seemed like a really cool client to work on. And let's be honest, I could use the extra cash. So the brand no longer exists, but it was called Charisma Skincare. And the products were great. I had a great relationship with the founder, and I loved being able to work with her directly. I thought it was so cool. She had quit her law career to start a business, start a skincare line, and I was just seriously obsessed. And this was the first time I really became fascinated with the process of working with other female founders and helping them bring their vision to life. That's a lot of what we do here at Blossom Brands. We work with clients who are at high growth stages in their business, whether they are just starting out and bootstrapping their business or they recently acquired some venture capital funding and are looking to grow quickly. The bottom line is we work with people who are focused on growth. Growth marketing is what we do. And this was my first little taste of what it was like to work with a brand from the beginning. So with that being said, I went from being a, entry-level digital marketing coordinator with expertise in a really specific area to being the single person in charge of marketing for this entire brand. Granted, it was a tiny brand, but there was a lot that needed done, and I was the one to do it. Through this, I learned so many skills, but I would say most notably was to be scrappy and just figure it out. Anything I didn't know, I had to figure out. I had to Google it. I was in their Shopify accounts. I was in their Google Analytics. I was in their Facebook ads. I was working with their web developer. I was doing so many things that working with larger companies at my 9-to-5 job, I would never have the opportunity to have a voice and have a hand in. And I remember so clearly the feeling of being amazed at how valuable my opinion was to this brand founder and to the other people she was working with. Like they truly saw me as an expert in my field, which at 23 years old and only like 6 months out of college, that was a really cool feeling. I was like, wow, I actually know things and I can help people. And I'm like a real professional. Like it was just cool. So those were all the good things I would say that my first freelance gig taught me. But with the good, there's also bad. And one thing that I learned really quickly, especially as I took on subsequent freelance clients in later years, is that when you are working for yourself, it is so easy to bend the rules and be willing to do whatever it takes to make a client happy. Because at the end of the day, they're signing your paycheck and all that money goes straight to you, which is different from a full-time job where you're getting a fixed salary. And even if you have a bad performance review, they're not going to immediately knock your pay. Like in this scenario, any of my clients could leave me at any time and I would be short all that extra income that I was used to making through my side hustle. So I became really willing to go way above and beyond expectations. And I would deliver these really complex reports and all of these things that, again, was a great learning experience. But in retrospect, relative to the amount that I was being paid, was a little bit over the top. So that's my first lesson for any freelancers out there is get really clear about what your expectations on your level of service are going to be, and then stick to it come hell or high water. You do not need to compromise your boundaries in the interest of making a client happy with you. Because at the end of the day, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And once you cross that bridge, you can just never go back. So you've heard the story of my first freelance client, which I was really lucky to have had it fall into my lap from a referral. But by saying yes to that opportunity, that eventually led to more clients. And I ended up having a freelance marketing side hustle from 2019 to 2023, working with 5 different brands over that period of time. And I want to be clear that all of those clients came from no marketing on my part. They really stemmed from referral after referral and me being willing to say yes to new opportunities that eventually led to more and better opportunities. So my second piece of advice, if you're considering freelancing, is try to be a yes girl as much as you can, obviously within reason. But when you are in those early stages of your career and you're just looking to make a little extra cash, you're looking to learn something, if an opportunity comes across that you can do those two things, you can make money and you can learn, I would suggest saying yes. So now that you know my credentials when it comes to the side hustle life, we're going to dive into 4 different pieces of advice that I wish someone had given me when I was starting my side hustle journey. The first of which is identifying your side hustle niche. And I know niche is such a buzzword, and there's also a lot of discrepancy on whether it's pronounced niche or niche. Personally, I feel strongly that it is niche. I don't want to hear otherwise, but if you call it niche, I guess I can look past. But aside from how to pronounce the word itself, I feel like there is so much advice going around on TikTok and other places about whether you should go broad or niche down in terms of your offering or your target audience. And the same I would say would apply to a side hustle. Like I said, in my experience, I was a digital marketing expert. So people sought me out to provide a specific service, a service that I was known for and a service that I was fully capable of providing, which leads me into my next piece of advice, which is master your craft first and then monetize second. We've gotten so many questions in the past about how do I start a business to make money? And not to dog on those questions, but I think they're the wrong questions. If you're asking yourself, how do I start a business to make money? Your motives are purely selfish. Now, I'm not calling you a charlatan or anything like that, but I am saying that if you flip the script and instead think about what value you can provide to others that they would be willing to pay for, you will probably get a better idea of what your niche should be and what expertise you have and services you could provide that people would be willing and happy to pay for. So if you are just starting out on your side hustle journey, the first question I would encourage you to ask yourself is, what are you good at? What are you specifically trained in, and what value could you provide to others? And the first place I would encourage you to look for that is in your full-time job, which I know not everybody has the job of their dreams. Sometimes a job is just a job, and I completely acknowledge and understand that. However, at the end of the day, whether you are freelancing or in a 9-to-5, you're being paid to provide a service. So in order to find out what marketable skills you have that you can monetize in a side hustle, I would encourage you to refer to your job description. What do you do in your 9-to-5 that your current boss and your current company is willing to pay for? Do you coordinate projects? Do you organize schedules? Do you provide a service? Do you handle customer inquiries? These are all things that are value adds. And even if you feel like you're just clickety clacking and sending emails all day, I promise you have a purpose and you have a marketable skill that you could then monetize as your own side hustle. So for example, if your job primarily involves managing projects and sending emails, consider becoming a virtual personal assistant. This is something that I've actually looked into in my business, just having a second set of eyes to handle easier tasks well and in a really polished fashion. And I've heard of a lot of people becoming virtual executive assistants where they support multiple clients at one time who are willing to pay them a couple $1,000s a month. And by the time you stack 2, 3, or 5 clients like that, you're suddenly making a sizable side hustle income that you could either use to supplement your 9-to-5 or replace it. So all in all, I would say that the fastest way to start a side hustle is to provide a service. And ideally the service that you already provide at your your full-time job, just at a smaller scale or to a different targeted audience. That way it's not competitive if your employer finds out. Again, in my example, it was a client who was too small for my agency anyway. And in that case, everybody wins. And all of this is not to discredit product-based businesses. Obviously, I support them as my job. I love an up-and-coming skincare brand. I'm so connected with female founders who are bringing value to the world through products and goods that they are selling. However, in today's conversation, we're strictly talking about side hustles. And if you're someone who is pursuing a side hustle, I imagine time is of the essence. So the fastest way to earn an income on the side, I would say, is to provide a service. I also want to add that this doesn't necessarily have to be a tangible service. So in my example, I'm a digital marketing expert. So I ran people's Facebook ads, right? That is a tangible service that I'm providing to them. I'm turning on their campaigns. I'm running their ads. I'm optimizing them daily. I'm providing a tangible work product through my service. However, there are also other options to providing a service that doesn't necessitate a physical output. A great example of this is consulting, because by consulting, you don't necessarily have to provide any deliverables. The deliverables you're providing are your knowledge and your expertise and your opinions. And as long as you are doing so in an industry that you have true expertise in, I don't think it's a scam. I think it's a value add for everybody involved. And personally, consulting on a freelance basis isn't something I have personally done, but oh my goodness, when I was knee deep in running ads and giving reports to freelance clients, I definitely wish I had less deliverables on my plate. So consulting is something I would highly recommend if you're specialized in an industry to do so. Okay, so those are all my thoughts on how to identify your niche. And one final thought I want to leave you with is how to avoid imposter syndrome, because I know for some of us that is so real and something that you're grappling with, especially when you're venturing out as a freelancer, as a side hustler for the first time. Like, I remember very clearly the first time somebody paid me directly money for my services, and I was like, wow, I can't believe they think I'm worth this. Well, if you want to avoid imposter syndrome, here's my advice. Don't be an imposter. Only sell services that you are truly an expert in and you have no doubt you can provide value. All right, ladies, let's have a real talk. I know that we all obsess over our facial skincare routines, ice rolling, retinol, silk pillowcases, you name it, we've tried it. But here's the thing. Why are we neglecting the skin that covers our entire body? Osea knows that body care matters, and boy, do they have a game changer for you. Osea's Undaria Algae Body Butter is not your typical body butter. It is a spa-worthy experience made with ingredients typically reserved for the face, like Undaria seaweed and ceramides. Let me share a little secret from my routine. Right after I shower, I apply a layer of Osea's Undaria Algae Body Oil to deeply moisturize. Then the piece de resistance, the body butter to lock in that moisture. Trust me, it's not just a routine, it's a luxurious self-care ritual. And the results? In just a few weeks, my skin has gone from dry and crepey to smooth, soft, and supple. Ready to elevate your body care game? Right now, we have a special discount code just for our listeners. Use code MONDAY10 to get 10% off your first order at OseaMalibu.com. Head to the show notes for the link and treat yourself to the most luxurious, clean skincare products from Osea today, because your skin deserves it, every inch of it. So you found your niche, you've decided what service you want to provide. The first thing you need to tackle when getting started is how to find clients. Like I shared, I was personally really lucky to acquire my first clients through referrals. So I really didn't have to do any legwork in this department. But back in the day when I was considering taking my side hustle full time, acquiring new clients was something that was really top of mind. And I do have a few strategies for you. So the first one is no surprise based on my story. I would encourage you to tap into your referral networks. Make sure that your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin's best friend know what you're doing, know what service that you can provide, because you will be shocked at how many people in your personal network already have a business and may be seeking out the services that you're providing. And once you've done that, you are now ready to pursue other avenues for acquiring clients, such as online platforms or social networks. Personally, I have had a lot of success with Upwork. It is a LinkedIn type of platform for job postings, but it's specifically geared towards freelancers. So I didn't use this back in the day because, again, all mine were referral. But in Blossom Brands, we have often used Upwork to find freelance contractors to complete special projects for us, like a web developer or an email designer. And so if you are ready to get serious about your side hustle and pursue other clients outside of your personal networks, I think Upwork is a great place to start. You can create an account for free and then set up your profile, including all of your credentials, your education, your training and certificates. It's really like a full LinkedIn profile. And then you have the ability to scroll through their portal and apply for jobs that are posted. And Upwork makes the process really easy. So let's say you've reached out to your network, you have your referrals, and you found a few clients on Upwork. The next thing I would do is get really, really clear on what the expectations for your partnership will be. Like I mentioned earlier, when all the money is going into your pocket as a freelancer compared to being paid a salary at a full-time job, it can be so tempting to go way above and beyond your scope. But in the same way that you wouldn't work on evenings or Saturday afternoons for your 9 to 5 boss, you do not need to be putting in more work than is necessary for your freelance clients. And the way that you do that is by setting really clear expectations up front. I would always encourage you to have a formal agreement, which includes your scope, your pay, your billing terms, and all the expectations of your partnership so that everything is clearly outlined before you begin doing any work for a client, especially one who isn't a personal referral, just to safeguard both parties. This is so important, not only to make sure that you aren't being taken advantage of, but also to avoid burnout. If you were starting a side hustle, whether it's to dip your toes into entrepreneurship or just to make a little extra cash, your longevity is so important. And the big difference between a side hustle and a full-time job is all the work falls on you. Anything that needs to be done, you bet your bottom dollar you're going to be the one doing it. So it's important to make sure that the things that need doing are really clearly defined and you don't go over and beyond expectations or over and beyond what you are contractually obligated and therefore being paid to do. I know this can be really tempting, especially when you work with lovely clients who are really nice to you and you truly believe in the brand or the project. But at the end of the day, you will only be as happy as you are fairly compensated for your work. So if you feel that there is a need to go above and beyond scope, I would encourage you to present that to your client as a proposal for an additional project rather than providing those services as added value, because that will build resentment. And then again, the longevity will be impacted. Okay, so now that we have that established and we're going to live happy and healthy lives, even while making money on the side, the next piece of advice I have for you is how to manage your side hustle, because you may get to a place where you have multiple clients and you're wondering, wow, all this money is going into my personal bank account. Am I going to owe taxes on this? Do I need to set up an LLC? Do I need an accountant? Like, how big is this thing going to get? All of these questions fall into the ongoing management of your side hustle and also understanding your end game. So if you are one of the aforementioned people who are genuinely interested in entrepreneurship and are using your side hustle to potentially start your business on the side while still maintaining your 9 to 5 income for security, I would challenge you to think really big picture about the scale of this business that you're building and how you can continue to grow it both while you still have your full-time job and if and when you decide to make an exit and take your side hustle full-time. So again, to use my scenario as an example, I was providing marketing services to clients. So I'm essentially trading my time for money because I need to provide a service within a set number of hours. In exchange for my time and expertise, these clients are paying me money. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but when you're doing all this within the confines of a side hustle, the time that you're exchanging isn't your work time, it's your personal time. When you don't think about these things beforehand, it can get really easy to just say yes, yes, yes. And then you suddenly look up and you are working from 9 to 5, then you're pulling a 5 to 9 after hours to work on your side hustle. And that leaves you no time to eat, sleep, and be merry. And while I know all of you are hard workers out there, I would challenge you to really think about this beforehand. And in the same way that you set expectations with your clients, you should also set expectations with yourself. Like, for example, how many clients are you willing to take on? How many extra hours of work are you willing to do outside of your 9 to 5? Or how much money do you want to make from your side hustle before you consider taking it full time? These are all questions that I would challenge you to think long and hard about so that you don't get in a situation where you bite off more than you can chew. And I know I sound like a broken record, but let me remind you that in the world of side hustles, burnout is your worst enemy. Okay, so we have covered all of my tips and tricks as it relates to side hustles. However, there is still one really important topic we haven't covered yet that I have to mention, and that is identifying alternative income streams. This is an option for people who may be just looking to earn an extra buck. Maybe you don't have the entrepreneurial itch, but you're just trying to supplement your income. Is it really worth it to create all these systems and service all these clients just to make money when you don't have an end game in mind for it, or you're not trying to learn and you're really just in it for the cash? If that's you, I would encourage you to explore hourly jobs or part-time gigs as an additional income stream, which I know this doesn't sound sexy, but I'm going to be honest, in my professional journey, I have had multiple part-time jobs along the way to supplement my income. I've worked at the front desk of a Pilates studio during COVID times, which not only allowed me to take free classes, but I was also able to work on my freelance clients while I was on the clock. I would check the girls in for their class, and then I would go back into the office, open my computer, and work on my freelance business while class was in session. This was a really easy way to double dip my time. And although I was making probably $12 an hour, if I was going to be sitting at my computer anyway, I might as well be sitting at my computer behind a desk at a Pilates studio to make an extra $12. So if you're really in a position that you are pursuing a side hustle strictly for the money-making component, I just want to encourage you and let you know that I've been there and remind you that there is nothing embarrassing about wanting to make more money for yourself. And even though you may be this fancy professional in corporate America, you are not too good to work the desk at a Pilates studio. And if that job makes you an extra $50 or $100 a week that affords you to go out to dinner with your friends and spend quality time with people you love, I, for one, think it's so worth it. Okay, so there you have it. That is all the advice I wish I had as it relates to starting a side hustle. Whether you are someone who is interested in becoming a full-time solopreneur or you're just looking to make a little extra income on the side, I hope this episode was helpful and inspiring to you wherever you were at on your journey. My own journey looked so different throughout different phases of my career, and I really feel like I've done it all, from starting off as a corporate girly to having a side hustle to now running my own business. And looking back, I'm really grateful for each phase of my journey because it allows me to relate to each one of you no matter where you're at. So on a personal note, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are just looking for a bit of advice regarding your career or side hustle journey, it would be my honor to assist you. And I would love if you would reach out to us at Monday through Sunday Pod on Instagram. I am here to serve and more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So if you're considering a side hustle, I would encourage you to take the first step today. Let me know how it goes, and I cannot wait to see the potential that you unlock.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Monday through Sunday. If you're building a career, a business, or any relationships, we know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us.
With that in mind, we would be so grateful if you can spare 2 minutes to rate and review this podcast. Your reviews help spread the message to more people that work doesn't have to suck.
By the way, if you're looking for your community, join us on Instagram and TikTok at Monday through Sunday Pod. We're all about connecting our like-minded listeners together. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about by sending us a DM. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you again, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.